Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, I did an analysis here, and those who watched that video, there is a question. That was the last video, and I think it was the video I was telling you about how Raila snapped the State House meeting. And I was comparing the handshake between Raila and Uhuru and Raila and Ruto. And there is something I asked you, and I said, if it is a matter of cabinet slots, do you think Uhuru Kenyatta could not give Raila Odinga cabinet slots? And why do you think, despite the fact that, or rather in spite of the fact that the Gen Z protest, there was nowhere in the issues that they raised a concern for the president to form a broad-based government, or rather, to enjoin opposition in government? You know, that was not a question. That was not something that anyone raised or asked. There was no Gen Z who was interviewed amidst this protest who said that we want Raila Odinga to be given cabinet slots. In fact, the protest was never party-based. And that's why the Kenyans were saying they're partyless and they're tribeless. But President Ruto is insisting on Raila Odinga to be given cabinet slots. Then what I have just read today is going to show you the reason why this issue of cabinet slots is emerging. But of importance is Uhuru Kenyatta's hand in this. I totally support what Uhuru Kenyatta is telling Raila Odinga. It is not new, and I think this is what the discussion should be all about. According to the Nation, is saying that what has delayed the naming of the second branch of the cabinet is the push and pull, a standoff that has emerged between Raila and Ruto, is because of what Uhuru Kenyatta is telling Raila Odinga. According to the Nation, Raila is blowing hot and cold. Mr. Kenyatta is said to have met Raila Odinga twice. First, yes, he said, the former president is said to have invited Mr. Odinga to at least 2 meetings outside the country, at which he has persuaded the former prime minister to abandon the quest for African Union chairperson and concentrate on Kenya. Remember, Odinga and I think Kenya Kwanza, despite of them, coming out here saying that they're lobbying for Raila Odinga to go to African Union, there've been less action on that. I want to show you a video. This was, yesterday I told you that that former President Ruto skipped a summit in Accra, Ghana. Tanzania has a candidate vying for the same position in Ghana, for the position of the African Union chairperson. And that candidate was in Ghana campaigning, and Tanzania was campaigning. Tanzania has, Makamba, Tanzania has bankrolled their candidate, Foreign Affairs Minister, to seek that position. And if you look at this video, he was in Ghana. So this is what we are talking about. There have been a lot of, discussion about we are vying, Raila is vying, we want Raila to get it, but not so much can be seen on that. According to sources, at both meetings, one in Europe and another in the Middle East, Mr. Kenyatta told Mr. Odinga that he was working on mobilizing Central Kenya to make Odinga president in 2027. It continues to say It continues to say, I want us to get it. At recent meeting at a foreign destination, Mr. Kenyatta is said to have told Mr. Odinga that Kenya needs him. Mr. Kenyatta told him that he should not go for AU, arguing further that evolving situation will help him become president in 2027. On Friday night, Mr. Odinga flew out to Dubai in what insiders say could be another planned meeting between Raila and Kenyatta. He's pushing Mr. Odinga to stay away. Uhuru is advising Raila to stay away from the current political troubles, arguing that Kenya Kwanza could fall anytime and the former premier should stay away. I said this. I had not read that. I had not read this article. And we kept on saying Raila should stay away. I have seen spin by Robert Alai. Spins on how Raila cannot rescue President Ruto. Raila cannot rescue the regime. Immediately, election was done and government was formed. The president formed government with his friends. And the friends went on a looting spree. And in that looting spree, the president could not call the house into order because he owed them political loyalty. So even if you bring Raila Odinga, there is not much to be done. This article is saying that Kenyatta could also be looking for a Kalonzo Muhoho or Kalonzo Gachagua ticket in 2027 with the backing of both Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta. And this is what, and the ODM members are saying, you know, we have nothing for it. The ODM members want Raila to go to the ballot so that Raila can go and carry their hands when they are vying for MP and MCA and Senate seats. And they cannot lobby for votes for Raila Odinga. But that's all behind the headline. And that's why they can even say, you know, we want this. But that is not the true position. Sources say Odinga's camp on Sunday has since offered the position of at least 5 cabinet slots with an expectation of having names of individuals who will assist him in transforming the country. And look at interesting bit. The cabinet slots, according to what this article is saying, William Ruto has given him National Treasury. This was in Mount Kenya, and there is something interesting about it. National Treasury and Planning, Public Service, Performance and Delivery Management, Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs, East African Community, the third one, Arid Region Development. Now, these ministries, Ruto has demanded that at least the Treasury and that Maritime, Treasury was being held by Njuguna Ndung'u. That Maritime and Blue Economy that was being held by, the mining that was being held by Mvurya from Kwale, should all come from Luo. Not bad. And of course someone is running, with this, that I picked a Luo, I denied it a Kikuyu. And you see the political matrix that for the first time we're getting. I remember during Grand Coalition in Treasury, it was Uhuru Kenyatta and the assistant minister was Oburu Odinga. That was the closest that Luo was in that docket. So Ruto would simply run a narrative of I've taken this and I've given, and you can see in all these cabinet slots, is there something for Raila as a person? No. There's nothing he gets, and of course I'm not saying he must get. But from just this you can see the political cards on table. Odinga seemed to have declined and has insisted that unless Martha Karua and Kalonzo Musyoka boards it, it is not very easy. And that is why you even hear the likes of James Orengo, who went and told, I'm telling you, if sometimes you may need to understand how the ODM politics works. If you have a number of ODM politicians around you, they will tell you. Someone was just telling me last night that, Kevin, Orengo, and he was confronting me, is a very strong ODM insider. There's nothing that Orengo confronted Raila. But that is what they wanted the headline to read. That is what they wanted the headline to read. That statement, and with the statements you're seeing the likes of Orengo making, they're not just their individual points. This is something that was choreographed very well, and Raila Odinga was looking for an exit. And if you want to believe that what Orengo said was not a shock and that was all planned, I may want you to rush to Raila Odinga's Twitter page, clearing the air. This has been made 36 seconds ago. In the minutes of this, when I was just doing this analysis, ukweli wa mambo, to the young resilient generation of our nation, I would like to address you this morning. I agree that justice must come first before any talks. Towards this end, I stand with you that there must be compensation for every victim of police brutality, dismissal of all protest-related cases, release of all abductees and those in jail, resolution of outstanding healthcare workers' welfare, a reverting of our public healthcare insurance back to NHIF, a prosecution of all security sector perpetrators who facilitated atrocities on peaceful Kenyans. And once these issues are resolved, we can focus on national conversation and conducted transparently in a neutral venue. It's my proposal that representatives for this convention should come from various sectors, including youth, government, religious leaders, healthcare professionals, lawyers, teachers. We must come together to discuss national and constitutional critical issues touching on the good governance, skyrocketing cost of living, eradicating tribalism, fighting corruption, debt, and fiscal management. Now, to the young people of Kenya, you all must know that I am deeply moved by your dedication to the cause, and I believe a structured dialogue will bring the reforms you are fighting for and safeguard Kenya for your future. What Raila has said here is what Orengo, when Orengo confronted him, Orengo told him on Thursday night. Nothing new. That is why I can tell you that there is nothing that Raila was ambushed. Raila knew what Orengo did, and all that was choreographed. You can look at that from the Ruto deal, because it's telling me that before, how could it be that the Secretary General of the party is Edwin Sifuna, and so Edwin Sifuna, before even a meeting is called, Raila cannot call a meeting to take people's opinion. Before the meeting, before people sit in a meeting, he will already have known what so-and-so is going to say and how this meeting is going to end. Raila does not take, is intelligence-led, is led by what he wants to achieve first. So someone was, Modem Insider was telling me, Kevin, Orengo did not confront Raila as you guys are reporting in the media. What Orengo did had already been planned by Raila himself, and I tend to agree. But of course, the headline has to read that Orengo confronted Raila. Orengo cannot confront Raila. Orengo is on Raila's phone every time, every minute. They can consult and write and put, plus what even the Ruto Odinga did. All that had to come out because Raila sometimes doesn't want to carry the blame. All that has to come out that ODM members have refused. In fact, if Raila wanted a handshake with Ruto, he would have done it without anyone knowing. In 2018, the handshake with former President Uhuru Kenyatta, he had just met with Orengo and Jimmy Wanjigi a day before, and they were planning the activities of the next day, only for Orengo and Wanjigi to see Raila in TV meeting the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. So he's telling me, and I tend to agree, that Raila walked out of that deal himself, and all that was choreographed. Media will report it that way, and they want it to come out that way, that so-and-so and ODM has declined. In fact, he's saying that some of the reports that have been coming from media that ODM is not boarding is what Raila wants to hear. Because Raila was actually planning to walk out of that deal. But of interest to me are two things that I would pay attention to. Number one, William Ruto wants some dockets. He's giving a cabinet slots to Raila Odinga. In this cabinet slots, I'm not saying anything for Raila. So in fact, the person is just capturing Raila. This is a trap for the likes of Joho and the Oparanya and the other, these bodies around Raila, who will now jump. In fact, before they take cabinet slots, they must leave the party. They must leave the ODM party. They must leave party. Then join the government side. Which is not bad because of individual fortunes are always there. But then, the second interesting point is what Uhuru Kenyatta is also saying. That I might consider Muhoho Kalonzo ticket or Kalonzo Rigathi ticket. I don't know which one would you guys go for. Muhoho Kalonzo or Rigathi. And in fact, don't you realize that Rigathi Gachagua was in Kirinyaga yesterday, and even around this discussion of Raila getting cabinet slots, you're not seeing him commenting or saying anything. In fact, it's very quiet. You're not seeing him taking a stand. In fact, they were given 6 cabinet slots. Probably they're still quiet. They're waiting for the other 2 because they are demanding 8. You're seeing some relative calm on Rigathi Gachagua's side. And another thing, Rigathi has also gone back to William Ruto. Has now toed the line, now behind William Ruto. Now, one thing you'll understand, the push and pull is a political fight between Raila and Ruto and Uhuru. And what is causing the scramble for Raila? Through your guess. Why is the scramble for Raila? Because this was not even, the Gen Z never demanded for Raila to be included in government, Raila to be given cabinet slot. In fact, even the Gen Z themselves, they never asked for a cabinet slot. They never asked for anything in government. What they ask is William Ruto to meet their demands on good governance. They never demanded, give me so, give me so, give me so. But I'm seeing some 4 reasons why both Ruto and Uhuru are scrambling for Raila in this. Number one, the power of coalition building. Our politics is still centered around coalition building. If you look at 2013 CORD, 2017 NASA, then 2022 you had Azimio. In 2027 you might have something else. William Ruto knows very well that if you pull Raila Odinga from Azimio la Umoja, you will achieve 2 things. Number one, you will kill Azimio la Umoja. Azimio la Umoja 1 Kenya will be dead on arrival when you pull out Raila Odinga. Number 2, you shall have reduced political activities and political mobility of, or rather the chances of, you shall have gotten out Kalonzo candidature, or rather Kalonzo endorsement. Raila endorsing Kalonzo, in fact, I can tell you that for me, Raila endorsing Kalonzo is more powerful than Uhuru endorsing Raila in 2027. If I would give them my simplest advice, let Raila leave the ballot. Endorse Kalonzo, both Uhuru and Raila to endorse Kalonzo in 2027 and try that ticket with someone else. In fact, I would advise you leave Muho and bring even Matiang'i. Give us Kalonzo Matiang'i. Try that against Ruto Rigathi or Ruto someone else. So that if Rigathi is betrayed, he might go to the ballot alone. But I think it's very interesting. There is not strength in Ruto Rigathi ticket. Because the weakness in that ticket is already Ruto. Ruto is the problem. So the power of coalition building is emerging. Number 2, the kingmaker factor in 2027. I can tell you, If Raila is not on ballot, then quite his voice will be powerful on whoever he says people should vote for. So long as he's not on ballot, it will be very powerful, especially even in Western Coast and these other areas, than when he is on ballot, because him is a candidate that has been defamed by almost all the 5 presidential candidates. But if Kalonzo also decides that it is Raila Odinga, well and good. But I see Raila and Uhuru being the kingmaker in 2027. And that is why William Ruto wants that before 2027, he should have split the two. That is the first assignment that William Ruto wants to achieve by whatever means, to ensure that in 2027, Uhuru and Raila are not one and the same thing. And from what Uhuru is saying, I am not understanding why the Raila camp is not reading the mood and still feel of associating with William Ruto. Number 3, I think the winning against Ruto matrix. The winning against Ruto matrix is very strong if Raila is with Uhuru Kenyatta. The vote in Mount Kenya, either the anti-Ruto candidate might get more, or Ruto will get less. But what I still see, Ruto will get less. It will not be that 3 million. He will get less from that Mount Kenya. And that means the opponent can gain more. But of significance is also the urban town. In Nairobi here, there are 2.5 million votes. Ruto might end up with 500,000 of that vote. So the matrix, the winning matrix, the reason why you need to even have Raila, because Raila will convince Nairobi. Yes, he will convince Nairobi on his side. And I think the lastly is the Gen Z traction on fighting for social justice. The Gen Z will most likely, they might not have a presidential candidate. I'm not saying them having a presidential candidate. But most likely, they will associate with the leader who seemed to be joining them in fighting for the rights. And that is why even William Ruto offering these cabinet slots is to ensure that if he's the devil, then he gets many other people around him. Kama ni anguka nayo, anguka na watu wengi. Because if you leave them outside, he probably feels that if you leave them outside, they might merge with the Gen Z and really cause havoc in 2027. That's my take. Thank you, guys.